was watching a video. I'm trying to find it right now, but I should have saved it. And my apologies for that. But there was this gentleman talking about how there was there's a lot of people in the league that are looking for there are a lot of them are just looking for white quarterbacks, and a lot of the white quarterbacks that are this time around are mediocre in comparison to the black quarterbacks that are doing it really well in the game right now. But they're trying to pass on the black quarterbacks for the sake of a white quarterback, even though the best quarterbacks in the league right now just so happens to be black, and they're trying to pass on them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wait a minute, why? And it's like, because guess what? It doesn't matter the color of the quarterback. If I just want to win, I'm gonna choose the best person, period. So it's like, why are you passing on the black quarterbacks to go for somebody that's not as good? And it just doesn't make any sense to me, just from a competitive standpoint. I'm not a very competitive person, but from a competitive standpoint, it's like, just go with the best person, period. Why are you trying to skip over the black ones and try to go for a white one just because he's white? Like,
yeah. Well, Colin Kaepernick agrees with your question, and as do many black quarterbacks. Here's what's changed a little since Warren Moon, who's the only black quarterback in the Hall of Fame right now. Donovan McNabb absolutely should be there with him. Yeah. But here's what's changed. It used to be you weren't allowed to touch the field if you're a black quarterback. They move you to wide receiver. And then now it's more like you have to be great out of the gate. If you're great out of the gate, like Russ, like Mahomes, I'm missing a couple off the top of my head, they'll keep you around. But you're not allowed to develop. So, and I'm hoping Jalen Hurts changes that this year. I'm really hoping Jalen Hurts changes that. Black quarterbacks have not been allowed to grow, to bump their head the way white quarterbacks do. Matthew Stafford did not win a playoff game until this last season where he won the Super Bowl. Okay, Derek Carr has still not won a single playoff game. You're allowed to bump your head. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to have a couple of bad years then in ascend. But when a black quarterback generally fails in his first couple of years, even if they're on an awful team, the analysis is different. They say he can't read defenses. Now listen to my language. It's not he's growing. It's an intellectual statement of white GMs and white owners on a black quarterback about a ceiling, about his capacity. He can't read defenses. They figured him out. They say this about Lamar Jackson for years. They're going to figure him out, as if Lamar Jackson doesn't have a counter chess move if the defense changes up, as if he's not smart enough to come back with something different. And on the case of Lamar Jackson, Bill Polian, a six-time executive of the year, said he should be a wide receiver when he came out of college, despite winning the Heisman. So we still have this mindset. And now what we're doing is people like Jalen Hurts, who's been given an opportunity with new wide receivers, and Geno Smith in Seattle, who probably lost many years of being a starting quarterback, they may challenge this thinking.
Yeah, another thing I will add too, in reference to Colin Kaepernick, if you watch the show where he narrates about his life on Netflix, this happened to him in high school too. He was actually the better QB, but the coaches wanted to go with the white QB because they said he fits the type, he fits the image, the brand that they were going for. And Colin Kaepernick, like, he went through a lot. I want to tell you the whole story, but he went through a lot just trying to get like a football scholarship to a college. That's how he ended up at Nevada, because so many other ones were rejecting him. And I think that sometimes people look at Colin Kaepernick and they're like, well, he wasn't that great of a quarterback anyway. Colin Kaepernick actually went to the Super Bowl, which some of the white quarterbacks never went, and they were still allowed to keep their careers, even though they bounced from team to team and may have been horrible or didn't win a playoff game. They were still kept there. Colin Kaepernick went to a Super Bowl. People forget that he was the backup QB for the 49ers. And then Alex Smith got injured. That's how Colin Kaepernick got his break. So he came in, did what he needed to do. They went to the playoffs. The 49ers had been awful for a couple of years before that. So it was like, wow, the 49ers made the playoffs again. This is crazy. And then later on, and I think it was the next season, when he went to the Super Bowl. I think they played against the Ravens, and there was that whole thing with the blackout and stuff. So let's not forget, He has been to a place where some of the white quarterbacks have never been, and they have not been pushed out, and they've not been told, like, you're not a good QB, or we're going to demote you. None of that. He was pushed out because he stood for something. He stood for social justice. And that's why they pushed him out, because they didn't like what he was doing. And he wasn't the only player that was taking a knee. And people forget that too sometimes as well. Like you mentioned, Eric Reed, he wasn't alone. So it's like, I think we need to stop making excuses for some of these other players, like the Matt Stafford, like you mentioned, Jay Cutler. He was another one. They kept making excuses for him. Like, how does this guy still have a starting QB job? Give me a break. So they'll find places for them. They won't find players for the black QBs. You have to be phenomenal. You cannot make mistakes. So people need to remember that.
But Savvy, doesn't this actually go along the lines, and I've heard you say this before, that especially even in this space of being commentators, we have to be 10 times as good in order to even reach up to what a lot of the white commentators do. So it's just sounding the same to me, even in football. Now, I'm not a sports guy. I'll be first to say it. I'm not a sports guy. I don't watch sports at all. And so all of this is brand new to me. And I'm thinking to myself, why isn't there as much outrage about Brett Favre as there was about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee for, in protest for police brutality? Like, why aren't people burning their Nikes? Why aren't people out there talking about, oh man, this is disrespecting the people of the United States? Brett Favre, shame on you. Where are they? Where are you? Like I'm talking to a lot of people right now who are football fans, especially those who were screaming about the troops. Well, what about the citizens? What about your boy Brett Favre? What he did? What Brett Favre did was actually egregious. What Colin Kaepernick did was express his right of free speech.
Yep.
So come on, let's be real here, because that's the thing. It's like the cognitive dissonance is crazy right now. Because I would expect, like, this should be like top of the news. This should be trending about what Brett Favre and others have done to the people of Mississippi.
Well,
Am I crazy?
Well, Green Bay Packer fans were more upset, at least the ones that were in the stadium. They were more upset with Aaron Rodgers and his teammates taking a stand against or for Black Lives Matter during one of the games. I remember this. They were booing because they took that stand together as a team. They were more livid about that than they were about Brett Favre taking money from people.
Yeah. What? And Brett Favre has been protected for a long time. Peyton Manning as well. There's certain generally white iconic players who are protected. Don't get me wrong. A Michael Jordan slips in there. Tiger Woods slips in there. When you become such a cash cow that there's no value in going after you. And Lance Armstrong had that space for so many years that all the writers would look the other way. So Brett Favre also had a sexual harassment scandal with Jen Sturger. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was sending, I don't know if we could say dick pics here, I imagine. He was sending them to Jen Sturger. Yeah, I see your face. He was. And all of the mainstream media were not covering it. Even after it came out, they barely covered it. When Ben Roethlisberger had even his second rape allegation against him, ESPN sat it out for 2.5 days. So
all right, I'm gonna head out
about this without without talking about the protection from the ESPNs, from sports media as a whole. JB is really.
Are you kidding me?
I'm dead serious. ESPN. Listen, you're into politics. You see how CNN and MSNBC protect Biden, or how Fox protects Trump. Well, sports does the same way. These are cash cows, so they're going to protect their cash cows.
That's right.
Because if you're a cash cow and you hit that stratosphere, everyone makes money off you. You don't even have to. It's like a silent conspiracy. You don't even have to have the conversation. If everyone is making money off you, why would you damage your product? You know, ESPN is also partners with the NFL, partners with the leagues. So we have to stop looking at them as objective sports media, just the same way these Republican National Convention or Democratic National Convention have their own networks that have their talking points. Sports the same way. The only difference is, unlike political news, it reaches millions more people. And everything that you talk about every day about politics is exported through sports, whether it's the jingoism or the flags or honoring the police during halftime or before the game, and honoring the military. Sports is used as a vehicle to carry all of that out.
And I want to point this out because I forgot about this situation, but thank you so much for reminding me of this AOHT 06. Yes. Peyton Manning also had a sexual assault case in college that his father settled out of court. He never had it held against him. Media just pretends like it never happened. Oh, and also he blamed it on a black guy.
What?
Just FYI, Peyton Manning, when he was in college, he blamed it on a black guy.
Yeah. And they ruined the trainer. His trainer in college, got crushed over the allegations. When you hit a certain multi-million-dollar sphere, and then billion-dollar corporations behind you, they could suppress everything. And you probably didn't hear about beyond that sexual assault charge and lawsuit. You probably didn't hear he had HGH charges against him, and that Al Jazeera did a whole 45-minute documentary, which was amazing. One of the best sports documentaries, investigative pieces of journalism I've ever seen. And NFL made it go away in 2 or 3 weeks. It was they made it go away.
So you got to remember who his dad is. His dad was Archie Manning, and he was a former professional football player. They were already connected. They already had the money. They had the resources to do what they needed to do.
Oh my gosh.
What? So, JB, let me put it like this. Everything you know about political media and politics, just take it, extrapolate it, and apply it to sports. Same thing, and it might even be worse.
And it doesn't matter which team you're on or which sport it is. Like, it's just, again, people with money, resources, networking, people that have power.
Yeah. And when we talk about media, the most profitable part of media is also denigrating black athletes. You have to understand that every time they go after black athletes in the news, it's making more money than going after Brett Favre in the news. So if their job is to have revenue, and you're asking the question, why aren't they going about on Brett Favre? Brett Favre's not going to get the clicks the way a black athlete allegedly misbehaving is going to get the clicks. That is just a factual, objective information.